Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Ways and Means Committee. We are joined by Council Members Johnson, Glidden, Palmisano, and Yang, and I'm John Quincy, the chair of the committee. We have a fairly lengthy agenda. Most of our items are on their consent, but we're going to begin today with our public hearing. This is referred from, of course, the Executive Committee on the reappointment of the City Assessor. Before we take up that action, we have to have a formal public hearing, but I'd like to invite Mr. Todd, if you'd like to say any remarks about your job and what you love about it and why we should consider keeping you around.
Mr. Chair, committee members, Patrick Todd, Minneapolis City Assessor. Yes, this is a very special time for me that I always look forward to. It's always a pleasure to work with the mayor and in addition to every one of the council members. And it's always a pleasure to serve at the will, not at the will, but to serve the taxpayers of Minneapolis. I've had the good fortune of doing this for about 10 years. And every year it seems to get more interesting and more interesting. The last few years, I think since my last reappointment, I think we've done a really good job of actually simplifying a lot of the materials that we hand out to taxpayers. I think we're doing a really good job getting more communication out. So when my staff are out door knocking, we're sending out notices to taxpayers so that if they want to be around when we're there, that's great, but that they're not afraid or that they're not caught off guard when people are knocking on their door coming in unannounced. So we've done an excellent job of maneuvering through what we would say is the sales ratio. We are measured, the Minneapolis assessment is measured by the Department of Revenue in this residential, commercial, industrial, and apartment sectors. And in those last 2 years, in fact, in just about every year since I've been the city assessor, we've been able to be within that 90 to 105%. Not all the counties can say that. So I think that my staff and I feel quite proud of being able to really keep a finger on the pulse and stay ahead of the game and making sure that the values are right where they need to be so that the city isn't at risk of any lawsuits. I look forward to just continuing. I think if I were to talk a little bit about the future, I would like to spend more time on our website. I think that there's significant opportunities to get some communication out there using the website, some of the tools, some of the website apps that some of the, like say King County or even Dakota County are pushing out there are really light years where we are right now. And so I would say over the next 2 years, that would be kind of a high priority, as well as doing a little bit more community engagement. I think some of the hiring practices lately, I've had probably half of my management team turn over in the last 2 years, and I've hired some outstanding, and I mean outstanding people that I can't wait for them to really shine, and when I'm not here, for them to fill my shoes and to continue the good work that my department's doing right now. So with that, I would stand for questions if any of the committee members have any.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Todd. Before we open the public hearing, I'd invite Mayor Hodges, if you'd like to make a comment on your nomination of Patrick Todd, that would be terrific.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for letting me speak in your committee today. And I do indeed appreciate the opportunity to say some words of praise for Patrick Todd, which, Mr. Todd, you will probably find distinctly uncomfortable, as people often do. But I've had the opportunity to work with Mr. Todd for many years now, and I have watched him work with the assessor's office to really raise up the leadership inside the assessor's office, to reimagine how they're doing the work in the 21st century, both because of facing hard times and budget cuts, that creativity that was required there, but also, as our markets shift, as we grow, as properties change, as the markets change, to watch him change his strategies in relationship to that, is just a sign of leadership, a sign of flexibility, a sign of innovation, but having a rock solid foundation in property assessment and defense of those assessments. He has been a great contributor to our leadership contingent here at the city, very supportive of other leadership in other departments, as well as making sure to raise up his own in his department, and always willing to serve and always willing to help, and bottom line, getting great results for the city and doing really great and respectful work for the residents of Minneapolis in the basic charge of property assessment. So I, without hesitation, put his name forward for renomination, and I ask for your support of Patrick Todd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Colleagues, do you have any questions of Mr. Todd while he's available? Not seeing any. I think I'll formally open the public hearing and see if there's anybody here that would like to speak on Mr. Todd's behalf. Anyone? Anyone? Not seeing any. I'll close the public hearing and certainly move approval of the reappointment of the position of city assessor for Mr. Todd. I think as the mayor clearly outlined, leadership is at the forefront of what you've been doing over the past number of years, working on behalf of the city. And it really does demonstrate amazing growth opportunities within the city and how your office has led the way in many ways, and certainly collaborated with so many of our other departments as we're making critical decisions as how we grow and how we move forward. You can't do that without the assessor's office as a partner. So I know you're a valued partner and to the entire leadership team. So thank you for that. So that nomination has been moved for reappointment. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Todd, I just want to echo that even though there aren't people here for your public hearing, I get questions about people's property taxes on a weekly basis, and people who have a lot of notions about how those are derived, and some frustration and anger as they're trying to make ends meet and manage their situations. And I just want to say I always appreciate your and your staff's responsiveness to those questions. You play a very important role in educating the public about how we do those kinds of things, and I really appreciate your and your staff's thoughtfulness around it. So thank you.
Council Vice President Glidden.
Thanks. I'll just say a brief comment. I've worked together with you for a number of years, Mr. Todd, and just wanted to say thank you so much for your leadership. I'm very happy to support your reappointment, of course, but you've just done amazing things both internal to the city and working with your staff and other stakeholders throughout the enterprise, as well as really having that, what folks may believe is an unusual touch for a city assessor to be such a wonderful person to work with in the community. And you're so funny besides. So, so anyway, just wanted to say thank you. We're very lucky to have you here at the city.
Thank you very much.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you. Not seeing any further comments. I know we'd like to move this forward as quickly so you can get back to your business in St. Cloud, because you are the second vice president of the State's Assessors Association. So anxious to do that. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? No one. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Todd.
you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Good. We'll get to the balance of our agenda for today. We have, reading through the consent agenda, if we could really quickly, we have from the attorney's office, we have legal settlement lawsuit with Jose Lopez versus the city, and a legal settlement lawsuit American Family Insurance Company versus the city. A settlement agreement with Marve Dismuke versus the city, and a legal settlement of an appeal of 1221 Acquisitions LLC versus the city. We also have a contract with Metro Legal for legal process services. The city clerk's office brings forward a contract amendment with Canon Business Solutions for duplicating equipment. The convention center is bringing forward a bids for the convention center exhibit hall fronts project. Finance and Property Services brings forward 4 items. One is the lease with Safety Signs MN for outdoor storage. We have a lease with Verizon for a cell tower at 5401 33rd at the fire station there. And we have setting a land sale public hearing for 815.5 25th Avenue South, and a Target Center renovation project request for proposal for project financing. Neighborhood and Community Relations Department brings forward a contract amendment with Lisa Jones for continued board training, and a contract amendment with Juan Linares for the Mercado Central project. Information Technology Department brings forward 2 items: a wireless Minneapolis community benefits account for Linway Manor, a contract amendment with First Watch Solutions for implementing of enhanced interface services. The Executive Committee brings forward a number of items. These are related to appointed pay changes are appointed position for the Deputy City Coordinator, Deputy Director, Neighborhood and Community Relations, and the appointed position of Manager at the Convention Center. A collective bargaining agreement with IBEW, Local 292. The Community Development Regulatory Services Committee brings forward the item for Southeast Minneapolis Industrial Tax Increment Financing Plan modifications. The Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee brings forward a contract amendments with Abdu, Eek, and Myers LLP, Clifton Larson Allen, Mike Wilson and Associates, and Rogers and Company for neighborhood audit services. Animal Care and Control Regulation Ordinance. This is a tremendous amount of work in this ordinance, and from this committee's perspective, we're looking at the revised fee schedule for that ordinance. The Transportation and Public Works Committee brings forward the 54th Street Penn Avenue to Lyndale reconstruction project, and also an item here, item number 25 on our agenda. It's the 26th Avenue North, and that's reconstruction project. This is West Broadway to Lyndale Avenue and 2nd Street North to the Mississippi River. Just want to note to colleagues, we're going to be bringing a revised item for committee reports on Friday, and this reflects a change in the amount. This is the action taken by TPW was for a resolution with the total amount being $2,980,000 to $2,116,855, and the revised amount is actually $2,046,585. Is that correct? So that's just a notice that that amount difference is going to change from what TPW did to what Ways and Means would bring forward. Item number 26 is the 6th Avenue North paving project. Grant acceptance from Hennepin County for sidewalk recycling containers. A contract amendment with Chemstone Products for ready mix concrete. We also have the contract amendment with Engineering and Construction Innovations for storm tunnel repairs, a bid for hauling and disposal of agricultural liming materials, and the contract with Eureka Recycling for processing and marketing of commingled recyclables. So those items are on our consent agenda. I'm happy to move those items, but I think it's worthy of a quick conversation if Mr. Herberholz would like to address the contract with Eureka Recycling, just as a comment as we're talking about a pretty major shift in our program.
Sure. Mr. Chair, committee members, Dave Herberholz, Director of Solid Waste and Recycling for the city. Having been through TPW committee already, I guess I'd just like to say, with any concern over the award of this contract, that our expectations are that Eureka Recycling will honor their terms of their proposal, and if unfortunately anything were to transpire that would not allow them to honor that proposal or us to agree with them, then we would exercise our option to come back and ask to be able to go to the next qualified proposer. So with that, we have confidence in the process. I have confidence in my responsibility as a director here to make them adhere to the terms of their proposal. And with that being said, here to answer any questions.
Just wanted to make sure that was clarified for folks. So thank you very much, Mr. Herberholz. Not seeing any questions on those. So on those consent items as outlined, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Those items are carried forward. Thank you very much. We have another item, so we have to make Mr. Johnson run through the hoops. As this is a new item, it's a acceptance of a responsive bid from Campbell Sevy for the at the Convention Center chilled water coils. And Mr. Johnson, if you could run us through really quickly this item, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair Quincy, committee members. First, I apologize. I don't generally walk items on to this committee, so I apologize for doing that today. I also apologize to the city clerk because this adds a lot of work to them, and I'm not following the rules, so I'm sorry for that.
This is why we have you here, because you
Yes.
have to make those apologies, or Kelly won't let you do it again.
Well, thank you. This is important to us because it deals with a project that will help us cool our facility. This is a project that we've been working on for several months. And we have run into some process problems where the actual coils that will help us cool this space are going to take us longer to actually get than we thought they were. And so it runs us up into a time frame where Mother Nature and weather could come and we won't have the opportunity to cool our space, which is a bad thing when you've rented that space. And so that's why we're pushing this forward quicker than we had thought we needed to. You will see on the RCA, there is a mention of this project as being a $180,000 project. That is correct in that it is the entire project is $180,000. There are $90,000 that we're asking you to approve today. The other $90,000 are things that are on different contracts. It is all towards our installation and deinstallation and craning of these items onto our roof. So really that $180,000 might be confusing. It is just what I'm asking today is for the just over $90,000 to purchase the actual coils themselves that will help us to cool our building.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was confused by that, so thank you for clarifying. As I was adding it up, it didn't quite add up to 180,000. Couldn't figure that out. But obviously that $90,000 or so would be applied to any of the responsive bids. So this one, you've selected this vendor for what reason as opposed to the lowest cost vendor?
There were some reasons. We put forward, I could get into technical terms. I don't know if you want to know that, but the coils themselves have unique specifications to them. The low bidder could not meet the specifications as we brought forth. And so we denied that bidder and went on to the second bidder, who we have a lot of confidence in to produce us with a product that will actually work for the next 25 years or so.
Very good. Yeah, the low responsive bidder could not guarantee the exact fit and function per the bid specifications. That's why we've selected this particular vendor. Just wanted to make sure my colleagues understood those issues. Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Not seeing any. I'd like to move approval of that item. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That item carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. I think, Ms. Giesler, is that all the items that we need to do on this agenda? But before we adjourn, I thought I'd kick it to Ms. Christensen, if you could outline what might be coming up in the near future in the first quarter of the year.
Thank you, Chair Quincy and members of the committee. As we start to resolve the year-end numbers for 2015, we can look forward to seeing staff bringing forward a request to roll over appropriation from 2015 to 16 for those items that meet a certain list of criteria. Also, we'll be looking to bring forward at a later date the final audited financials from 2015. That likely will not be available until early summer, as is usually the case on an annual basis. We'll also be kicking off our annual budget process. Everybody's very excited about that. We finish one and get another going. Additionally, staff will be returning to the council, to the various committees in response to the staff directions that were adopted in large part as part of the 2016 budget. So you will be seeing us.
Okay, thank you very much. Thought it was worth noting what happens in the first quarter and what we can be looking forward to as we begin the process. And a lot of it is still finishing up work from 2015. And we wanted to make sure all the I's are dotted and all the zeros are in the right places. So thank you very much for that. Seeing no further business before the committee, we are adjourned.